I know a lot of people don't talk about this topic, but I figured I'll talk about it. Me personally, I'm not a poly guy, but I feel like I wanted to talk about it to kind of get more of an understanding about it, because I think there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to being in poly relationships and being a person who is poly. A lot of people don't understand it, so I figured I'll talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't talk about it. So what's good?
Hey, it's a little dark in here. I'm sorry for that. It's a little dark in here.
Nah, that's cool.
My lighting is poor. I apologize.
Nah,
I've been poly. I'm 56, and I've been poly for 40
okay.
years. So I've been doing this for a long, long time. So for me, I have not been in a relationship for a long time. For me, it's to find a mate that is very understanding, and that I can blend with as my alpha in the beginning.
Okay.
And then from there, when I get other mates involved, then we work on that as well. So being poly is not something for me that I can just jump into and jump out of. That's me.
Okay.
Because for me, it's part of my livelihood. It's part of who I am as a person.
I got you. Like me, I'm monogamous, so I'm trying to just get some light on what is. I have friends who are poly, but not a lot of friends. But you know, I hear some people say that they are poly, especially like, you know, me being trans and stuff. I know a lot of people in trans community who are polyamorous, so that's why I wanted to talk about the topic. You know what I'm saying? To try to get some understanding on, like, because I know a lot of people got stigmas that they think that being in a polyamorous relationship is, oh, they trying to just get a third person to be freaky with or something because they can't be monogamous.
I think what happens is that there are people that think they're in a poly relationship, and instead they're in a open relationship. Poly is a lot more spiritual.
Yeah.
It's a lot more deeper than what people think it is. It's not about sex either. People think that being poly means you're having sex with everyone. And I've been in my last poly relationship, there was 5 of us in that relationship, and I was only intimate with only 2.
Okay.
The rest were asexual. So it does not mean that we are all sexual either.
Okay. Like me personally, I thought being a poly relationship was only 3 people.
Yeah.
It's 3 people. I didn't know that it could be more than 3 people. See, that's something that I think a lot of people don't know as well. That you can be in it could be more than 3 people in the polyamorous relationship as well.
Right, and it's not all sexual. People need to understand it's not about the sex. It's about the spiritualness and the connection that you have with each other.
Okay.
And when you have a couple, you usually start out as a couple.
Okay.
And as a couple, that couple actually is the alpha couple.
Okay.
They are the ones who are the glue to the rest.
I got you. So would you say, all right, so if you're in a polyamorous relationship, so if like the 2 alpha people are together and then the third person wants to seek out for somebody who is like outside of the relationship, like, but it's not included messing with the 2 alpha people, would that still be like polyamorous, or would that be that person is cheating?
That hasn't. Well, first of all, in a polyamorous relationship, there are couples. You have to come to an understanding as a couple.
Okay.
You have to have your understandings first, because if you don't, then you will have conflict.
I got you.
And in a poly relationship, everyone complements each other.
Okay, I got you. I understand.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand.
So a lot of people don't understand that. That's why open relationships for some people are better, because that's where they're comfortable at.
I got you. Because you think there's more free range and you can do more things when you're in an open relationship versus being in a poly relationship. It's like y'all all connected. Y'all all have to have that understanding.
Right. We're connected, and it's more, take away the sex. I'll give you an idea. Imagine living in a house full of people that known each other for 20 years, and they work together, buy a car together. They do a lot of things together as a
Okay,
unit, as a unit, and that unit works. But if you take one out, the unit becomes
I
messy,
got you. So my question,
becomes broken.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of questions as we talking about this. So my question is, how do people feel, like socially, like your friends feel, or like just what are people's opinions when it comes to you being in your relationship and you're polyamorous with individuals? Like if you, let's say you're having your three-way, or you having your five-way or whatever, like what are people's thoughts? Like do people question you or be like what do you mean, like what is people's experience?
Usually a poly relationship, a lot of times it's not an announcement that we're in a poly relationship. There is no need for
Okay.
that. If people see it and they ask questions on that, then we can explain it to them.
I
But
got you.
usually you may see me with 3 or 4 people and may think we just live together and we're housemates.
Okay.
It's not something that we, hey Aria, and Aria is also poly too. So it's not something that we just get out and do.
Okay.
People have to understand everything about your life does not have to be announced to the world.
I got you. You're right about that.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So being poly is a part of me. It's a part of who I am as a person.
Okay.
It doesn't make me the person I am. It's a part of me. And it's the kind of relationship. Now, I could be in a monogamous relationship, but my mate will always know that I'm poly from day
I got
one.
you.
And if I'm comfortable with that mate and that mate can give me 100%, I'll say 110% of what I'm looking for, then there would be no need for someone else to be blended in. But in most relationships, by experience, my own long-term experiences, you can only get 75% of your relationship.
Okay, I got you.
You can only get about 75%.
I got you. Like, what do you think are like some conflicts that come up when it comes to being in a polyamorous relationship? Like, I heard some people say that. I've seen this one guy wrote that he'll never do it again because it was just too much. And like, what do you think of some things?
Yeah, and it becomes too much for some people when they're not ready for it.
Uh-huh.
Because you have to understand that there's always an alpha, a dominant there. And that one has got to make sure the glue stays functioning. The glue is there. And then when you have someone else who's that mate, they have to mush together and work together to make sure that that relationship is on point.
Yeah.
Now, when you have one of the others, they're going to blend out and teach others how to serve the others, how to take care of each other. We have to learn to take care of each other. You see where I'm coming from? I think the downfall is when there's jealousy or there's other reasons that people come into the poly relationship. They're coming with a fantasy, or they're coming in with false ideas or false hopes.
Mm-hmm.
But usually in a good, positive poly relationship, there shouldn't be any of that. And also you have people that come in, like I said, alternative motives. And sometimes when you have that, you can normally, like me, I normally know when somebody's coming in for another reason, and I know straight out the point they will not be fitting in my unit, my unit
like
at
you
all,
said, people.
because it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
I think a lot of people got that stigma that it's about sex and about I'm gonna be on some freak type thing. Oh, it's 2 people, or
Right.
3 people, or 4. Oh my God! Like they get excited. They get that thing in the head where they get excited and think that it's about a sexual thing. Like you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
that's good to know. Cause I always like me. I don't see myself being polyamorous, but I respect people who are. But I know I've always known that it's more to it, and it's not about. I'm not saying I didn't think it was about sex because that was my stigma. I thought it was about like I didn't think it was only just about sex. I thought it was just about 3 people being in a relationship and y'all all having a good time and doing what I guess what you think what 2 people would do in a relationship. But I never knew it was more to it than that you could have.
Let me put it. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Let me explain it to you this way. Imagine yourself having 6 friends, close friends, and you're friends with benefits, but they're not all sexual.
Yeah.
One gives you pleasure to sit and watch movies all day. Another one loves to go out and eat all the time. Another one loves to go shopping all the time. Another one has a hobby similar to yours. You blend that way. So you complement each other in a very unique way.
Mhm.
But you may not be sexual with either one of them. You may be sexual only with one.
I got you.
So that's poly. Poly is blending and complementing each other. Now, when you have a couple that's bringing in a third party or fourth party, that couple has first have to have their structure on what they will and will not tolerate, and they must be at all times, and I say this because from experience, on the same accord,
I got you. I hear
same understanding.
you. The other question I have is about what are the ideas when it comes to marriage and stuff like that? Like, how does that work? Like, do people in polyamorous relationships get married, or they don't, or it's not possible? Or
It depends on the couple. It depends on the couple. I mean, if there is a couple that's poly, they're going to always keep that going on in their relationship. It depends on the couple.
okay, I got you.
It depends on the couple. I'm being poly who I am. Like I said, being poly, I hope to find my final mate that we can eventually have a poly relationship within that. But at this present time, right, all right, that she's right.
About surrounding.
At this present time, I am where I am, but I will always let those that I date know that I am poly. So they know that there's no alternative motive to being with them. And then let's say 6 months down the line, I say to them, I'm interested in someone else to bring into our unit. And they look at me like I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
But I don't do that unless I know that my relationship is very, very structured and very, very stable.
Okay.
You don't want to bring a poly relationship into a relationship that has no hold at all. If the glue is not holding, you just don't do that because you're probably having confusion already. You don't want to add more confusion to your relationship.
Okay. So being, like I said, being that you're older and stuff like that, and maybe you see people who are younger in polyamorous relationships, do you feel like people who are younger are like, of course, they're going to be more inexperienced, but do you think they're like, I'm trying to see how to word this, like,
I think a lot, and this is me,
yeah,
my personal spot, and there's some friends on here that are listening that will giggle after I say this. I think that a lot of younger people who don't have experience in love and life need to stay away from the word poly.
yeah,
That's just how I feel because in order to know where you belong in a relationship, you have got to experience a true
mm-hmm,
relationship. So I feel, in my personal opinion, that younger people need to stay away from the word poly because as they're growing and learning about themselves, they're going to go through different relationships every other week
mm-hmm,
sometimes. So we can't all say I'm poly. I think it's an excuse to say I want an open
yeah.
relationship. I want to
And
explore.
I think that's the stigma as well, that people who are younger, they just think it's more of like an open type of thing. And that's kind of like the vibe I get from people who are younger and who enter these polyamorous relationships, that, oh, it's a sexual thing, that they don't have the understanding about it.
It's a lot more spiritual. It's a lot more empowering. It's a lot more enlightening. It's all about all of you. It's not just the downstairs. And you have to put work into it. And that's why I said I think a lot of young people aren't ready for the work, the labor that you have to put in it. Because sometimes you will have some qualms or some issues in that
Mm-hmm.
relationship, in a poly relationship. But um, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Kim Watson is one person, as she'll tell you, she's the poly queen. She's very poly. So is many of us sitting here now that are elders sitting here talking to you.
Yeah,
Um, we, the one thing about it is that you're right. It uplifts the relationship, but you have to be careful that you don't downlift that relationship too. And I think young people need to learn to engulf within themselves and talk about it and be more involved with their own self to find out where they belong because you can dibble and dabble. I'll give you a prime
mm-hmm,
example. Right. It doesn't mean open, and I say it doesn't mean
mm-hmm,
open. When I came into the poly world, I had a woman that was 3 times my age. I was 16,
mm-hmm,
but she was poly. Her husband was
mm-hmm,
poly. She was a straight woman with a gay husband, and I was her mate at the time. And being trans at that time, a young trans person, she even had said to me, this is something that may not be for you, but as we are growing, this is where we are in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew where my place was in that situation. I knew I couldn't pull her out, and I knew not to be in the midst of whatever they were going in. That they had that glue. But I do know that as we grew, she gave me the opportunity to experience, because I was young. I remember I said 16,
Mm-hmm.
17, to experience myself sexually and find out where I was as a person. I didn't verbally say I was poly until I reached the age of 22.
Okay. But you,
But I had already dipped and dabbed and learned more about myself, but I had guidance to do that. I was lucky to have someone guide me to do that. I think it would have been crazy for me at 16, between 16 and 22, to tell everybody I was poly and I was just out there having sex and having relationships, breaking up the makeup. That's just a thing that we do, like the song
mm-hmm.
says. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it became a taught. I had to learn it to understand it. And once I began to learn and understand it, I'm comfortable with poly and I know where I am with poly. I don't mind my mate being poly, but my mate has to understand why they are in this poly relationship with me too as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, I have a unit. I could have a unit of 5, and all of us are the poly unit.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, you answered a lot of questions that I didn't know. Like, I didn't want to seem like I was. I've never been ignorant to people who are in a poly relationship. I just didn't understand a lot about it.
No,
You
no.
know?
You're just trying to
Yeah.
learn. Like Kim said early, like Kim said early, people of color don't really talk about these things, and we need to talk about this. Poly is something. Oh my God, it's a history
Yeah.
behind it. There's a lot of history
Uh huh.
behind it. And like Kim said some folks are secondary partners may create self feelings instead of understanding the facts. It is so
Mhm.
true. It is so true.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of stigmas, like I said, when it comes to being in poly relationships. That's why I decided to talk about it. I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about it, even though I didn't feel 100% talking about it because I'm monogamous. But I was like, you know what? I still want to talk about it, and I still want to understand it because I didn't understand a lot about it. I thought it was more of like kind of like what that stigma is. You getting that third person to just try to have fun, like. But I knew it was a little bit more deeper than that. But that was like my first thought about it.
For some of us, it can be very spiritual because we come in tune with another spirit, another soul. We're all, you know, and because of that, you become melted in and you become in tune. And it's a very unique. For me, it's very spiritual. For me, it
Mm-hmm.
is because I'm about the spirit of a person. So if my spirit is really blending with your aura, our auras are blending together. It can be very, very warm. It can be very comfortable. Comfortable.
That's good.
Just like I was telling someone earlier today in another live
Uh-huh.
that, for me being in a poly relationship, I take it very serious because I know where my limits and my boundaries are.
Okay.
And I was married. I was married to someone, a woman, and we had a poly relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And within that relationship, the law was we had a household law. You don't step outside this circle of 5 to have intimate relations with others. A lot of it was for safety. A lot of it was for safe and health wellness as well, and also for mentality and thought. So when they stepped outside, my own personal mate, the alpha, stepped outside of the relationship, we were no longer a couple.
I got you.
She broke the barrier.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I had other questions too about it. I forgot what I was gonna say. I thought of something. I kind of forgot. Oh, I was gonna ask you like, what is like the history? Like, cause you mentioned history. There's history to being polyamorous. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Well, you have to understand that the word poly is a umbrella term.
Uh,
But, this has been going on in other traditions, other ethnicities back in the day.
mm,
We have to understand, like I said earlier today, we have to understand that when America was created, it was the land of cleanliness. And, when the Europeans, people came from other countries, they come here because there was a lot of famine, illness, we know all that history
yeah.
there. and they created this little land called America.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2018, we're now becoming what they call themselves. They're trying to clean us up, and they don't have nowhere to put anybody now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way of cleansing us now. So now they're stuck with all of what they did not want here in the States. They have to deal with what's here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, poly has been around for a long time
Okay.
in many, many other countries and many other nationalities, countries, ethnicities, many, many races. It's been around. It's been around in the biblical times. The Bible talks about it. It touches a point on it as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, and polygamy, polygamy is a little bit different from poly. No, polygamy is a different version. That's being married to someone. And the thing with us as LGBT individuals, we were calling ourselves polyamorous because we were not legally able at one time to be legally married.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to have used that term. But in America, it is illegal to be married to two people at the same time. So we have learned to use the word polygamous
Mm-hmm.
because it allows us to get away with what we do. If someone found out that someone was a polygamy, other polygamy,
Mm-hmm.
then which is spelled differently, they would go to jail in America if they found that out. I'm just letting y'all know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just letting you know that. So we as a poly community, um, you're right. You can love more than one person at a time, but also you can do that in polygamy as well. So in any form of poly, you can end up loving each one in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't love each all the, it's just like when you love someone separately and being monogamous, you know how you get in a relationship and you love each mate differently?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how we are. We can love each one differently because we're all different. We're all different energies. So you learn to absorb and you learn to adhere to that unique energy that you're attracted to
Yeah.
of each person.
I hear what you're saying.
I probably went on a tangent.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's like it's good to just to talk about it because I don't see anybody really talking about it or enlightening. You know what I'm saying? What is it? What is it like? Or
Right.
just even talking about it. I just hear people saying, "Oh, I'm 34 years old. I'm male and I'm poly." Like, okay, like a lot of people don't understand the meaning
I,
behind it.
I'll give you a prime example. I'll give you a real prime
Uh-huh.
example. Look at the gay man community real
Mm-hmm.
closely. There are many gay men that may have four in a household and they're in a poly
Mm-hmm.
relationship. It's more popular. At one time, it was more popular within the gay male community
Mm-hmm.
than even in the lesbian or the trans or the straight
Mm-hmm.
community. It was a lot popular at one time for gay men to be. I mean, you look at them now. There's a lot of them out
Mm-hmm.
there. Yeah. So it's just like Kim said. She's legally married to her husband, and she has She had a
Mm-hmm.
secondary partner. I mean that, but it's understood, and everybody knows their. Like I'll say, everybody knows their boundaries. Everyone knows the
Mm-hmm.
limits, and it goes that way.
That's good. I'm trying to read some of the comments as well as we go.
Yeah.
Because some men are poly by nature.
But if you ever watch gay men and watch them closely, there are a lot of gay men that are in couples for years and they have their playmates or their extra, I mean, they have extra people living with them. And I know a couple that has been in a poly relationship for years.
Mm-hmm.
They've always had a third party and they're very well functioning and very well happy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your little spats, but they're still together
Mm-hmm.
and they still work as a unit. It's a very positive thing for me because it helps me. I mean, being the person I am, it can be very helpful for the things that I do, my livelihood, the things that I do in my
Mm-hmm.
livelihood. So it can be very helpful, very much fulfilling, and everybody takes something from it.
Yeah. What like to people who are ignorant against polyamorous relationship, what is something you tell them like when they have something ignorant to say about it? Like what are some things you say to enlighten them about it?
Well, like I said, I don't announce it to the
Yeah.
world because sometimes, I have to go get a baseball bat out the car and beat it in them to make them understand.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just don't say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But if there's a discussion about it and someone is wrong, I have to step in and say, well, I think you misunderstand a bit of what poly
Uh-huh.
is. And then when they tell me something that's off the wall, I have to say, well, look, you're talking to someone that is poly. So I don't know why you think I'm dark toned skin black man of color.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person of color that I don't know anything because in the minds of some people, we don't know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to make it clear that before I'm going to say this, and all my Caucasian friends are watching if they are,
Mm-hmm.
um, before Europeans practiced polyamorous, they picked up and understood what polyamorous was as they watched other ethnicities.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
Uh-huh.
You know, when my mistress, the woman that I was with early in my years of 16 and 17 that brought me in to this poly world, she told me, she said, I'm a Jew and I'm European. And I didn't learn this until she went to China
Okay.
and she learned about some people being in poly. I was like, wow. So she didn't know anything about it until she went to China and she went with her husband and they stayed there and they had a poly relationship in China. Now, mind you, I'm old school. So, you know, they had to been going out there like in the 30s or the 40s or something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or the 50s. So they've been doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came back to the States, he was still in the military and he told her, you know, you need to find a mate while I'm not here because that she needed that and he felt he needed that. So, I mean, it was agreeance to what they did and I just happened to be that mate. I had to be that mate for a long time
Okay.
and loved them to death. Love them both to death. Love them both to death.
That's good.
You learn to love
Mm-hmm.
unconditionally. You learn to really realize a lot about yourself in a poly relationship. You grow very fast. You become wise. You become very disciplined, you know, and your mind is open to change and learning to accept change.
Mm-hmm. Like, how do you think about, like, what do you think about, like, jealous, when it comes to being jealous and selfish sometimes in those, in
You know,
relationships?
I was never jealous and I was never selfish because after me came three other members within our poly household, and I was never jealous or envied anyone because I guess I was the alpha to her, but I was more or less I was the spoiled brat. I'm just gonna tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just felt like, you know what, I got it going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I had it going on. I was like, you know what, I got a house full of people to live with. This is good. This is fabulous. You know, I had people to talk to, people to mingle with, people to bounce off with ideas. And, you know, there were things being in the LGBT community, being trans, that I lacked because at 16, 17, I was no longer with my family because of my transition. So this gave me a family unit. So I was happy with my family. I was
Yeah.
happy with my poly family because um, I was able to see things in a different light and open my mind to different things. I mean, I'm Buddhist. I practice a lot of different unique things in life. I'm different than some people. I'm like I said, for me, it's very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's very enlightening. It's very empowering, and it allowed me to grow. I'm not like most trans men you might find out there. I'm a very different kind of guy. Miss Kim Watson will tell you I'm different. James will tell you I'm different. Aria will tell you I'm different. I'm just a different kind of person. I see life differently. Um, and love is different for me. You know, to love someone, I can do it unconditionally, freely. I can do it. You know, I do it to everyone in the world. I give my love unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I also know how to how to learn to trust myself, allow myself to have truth in myself, to have integrity always towards myself, um, and be loyal to myself. And if I can do that, then I'm able to do that in any relationship that I'm in. And that's something I learned within being poly,
Yeah.
is doing that.
I think it's
So I don't have a problem going in a relationship,
yeah.
and saying, okay, this is not going to work.
Yeah. I think. Do you think you kind of like, in a sense, kind of like, I don't want to say this term, but like kind of like grow up quicker being in a polyamorous relationship versus a monogamous? You think? Because you have to kind of learn.
Yeah, because I think see, monogamous, okay, I'm going to be honest. Monogamous relationships bore the hell out of me.
Mm.
I've tried it. I'm bored. I will tell you, I get bored. I don't, it's boring to me. It's like structure that's so traditional and so, it's just not for
I
me.
got you.
It's just not for me.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not for me. But being poly, there is structure, but I'm not bored.
Mm.
There's a uniqueness about it for me.
It's exciting, like you feel, like it's always something to look forward to.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. Because being in a poly relationship, I'm one person that I love spontaneity. I love being spontaneous. It's always something spontaneous for me. Always. Even if I am the dominant in that relationship, there's always that going on. For me, it's always laughter. It's always fun. It's always enjoyment. That's me. That's what I get out of my poly relationship. And we run as a unit. We work as a family. We have a great time. Um, and it allows the mates not to have such the heavy load that one mate may have. Being in a monogamous relationship, I'm required to give somebody 110% attention when I'm working on other things, because I'm a community worker, a laborer. I can't just give you all that attention when I have to take care of this over here. But having a poly relationship, if it's two women in the house, they can go shopping. If it's a man and a woman in the house, they can go shopping. They can do whatever they want to do. The weight of being so responsible for their emotions and their happiness, it's just so much lifted for me.
I got you. It's like a weight off your chest because you kind of don't have to worry so much.
Yeah, and it's a weight off their chest too, because they can bounce off ideas with someone else than to always be bouncing off me. And if they don't, I always say, if there's some form of disagreement, somebody's going to lose. But you have a compromise as well.
Exactly.
You have a compromise as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you bring in a lot of enlightenment. So you got me thinking as well as you're talking.
Yeah.
About it and stuff.
Yeah. And I will say this. I will say, Kim had a book that she just put up, Radical Slut. Get that book. Read up a lot. Go to some groups and learn. Because as you learn, there's many different levels of how a poly relationship can flow. It depends on the energies of those involved. And not all poly relationships, like if you meet 3 different poly relationships, one of them may not be for you, or 2 of them may not be, or all of them may not be for you, but you might find another one on the other side. But like myself, being so long-term poly, I am more of head of household.
I got you.
And a lot of that, yeah, and see, with me, is another part. I'm not just your average trans man having a poly relationship. I am a trans man that also comes from the leather BDSM community that has poly relationships involved. So now you're dealing with a pansexual poly leather man. So I'm always going to be head of household.
I got you.
Always going to be head of household. But I take care of mine. I'm going to tell you, I take care of mine. I do all I can 100% for mine. Because if someone's giving to me, it has to be an equal balance. Like James said, it brings balance. It has to be some form of a balance.
Of course. That's good. That's good to know. Like you had me thinking and stuff. That's why I'm just like, kind of like pausing in between, because you had me like enlightening me more on about polyamorous relationships, as far as structure communication and, just being open and having that understanding. There's a lot that I didn't know about it.
Right.
I've never, like I said, I've never been ignorant about it, but I just, lack of understanding things can have me wonder, like, okay, well, what is it about? Like, what's up with that? So that's why I kind of like brought the topic
Right.
up, because I don't think there's a lot of people who talk about it often, or who are people. There are people who are curious about it, but they could be kind of like afraid to kind of step into it, not knowing what it's going to give, or etc.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is a lot of people might meet somebody and they say, "Well, I like you," and they say, "Well, I'm in a poly relationship," and then right away you think, "Oh, they're in a poly relationship, so we can have a relationship," and that person says, "Well, yes, I get to know you," and a lot of times, if you meet someone that's in a poly relationship, they want to get to know your brain first, because if your brain is not where it needs to be, opened, and you have a different agenda, you may not be fitting for that person and their
Yeah,
mate.
you might throw off everything.
Because you're still dealing with that couple. Yeah, you're still dealing with that unit. You're going to have to still deal with that unit.
It can kind of be like some trouble if you get somebody who's not balanced, or just not the fit. It might just throw off the whole thing.
Right. Energies can be thrown around to the point where it becomes a lot of negative energy, and then you have a lot of negativity going on that just you could see it, the imbalancement happening. And that's where the one that is the strongest in the relationship will say, "This cannot work any further. This cannot work any further. This is not for us.
Yeah.
This is not healthy." It has to be healthy. Poly relationships can be very healthy, and they can be very unhealthy. But in order for it to be a very healthy poly relationship, there's got to be a lot of communication, a lot of structure, a lot of balance, a lot of everything. It's work. It's work. And the two key individuals in that relationship, if they come together, they've got to be balanced. If I'm with someone who's not poly, we have to be balanced at first. Now, she may say, or he may say, because I am pansexual, I'm not poly, but I don't mind you dating other people. I normally won't do that with them. Because what happens is they're not poly, so they don't understand me and this person may never have sex, but they get to become jealous of what I'm doing with this person versus what I won't do with them. Like I said earlier, like in any relationship, monogamous, any relationship, each mate is treated differently. Each mate is treated differently based on their energies.
You're right about that.
If I like baseball and you don't even like baseball, but you're mad because I go to the baseball game because I like baseball. I really do. And you don't like baseball, don't get mad because
You go back.
Team player number one wants to go to baseball game all the time.
Exactly.
You're welcome to go, but you don't go. Don't get mad at me. But that's when you start having problems. This jealousy. Yeah.
The other question I have is, like, to me personally, I didn't hear that. I never really heard about really polyamorous relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, being so much in cisgender heterosexual relationship. Why do you think it's more common in the LGBT more versus, like, I don't know if that's just that, like, that's just from my point of view. Like, I've seen it more common in, you know what I'm saying, the LGBT versus cis heterosexual relationships. Like, why do you think it's more popular in the LGBT?
Well, because like I said, look at your gay man relationships. A lot of gay men who are poly at one time were a lot of kinky leather men at one time. That's changed as the years evolve. It changes. Now you have men who are not kinky, but gay men who have poly relationships. And I think that's why.
I got you.
And you've had heterosexual couples that are out there doing this, but they don't make it known because they had more to lose at one time, like family, children. They had children involved. They weren't making it known because now you would have issues with children being pulled out of homes, or if the ex heard that this was going on. It was unhealthy for the
Mm-hmm.
children. DSS kicks in. I mean, they had some issues. Whereas in your gay man community, predominantly at one time, which was a lot going on, um, it they didn't have children to lose. They didn't have a lot to lose. But now, with when the 80s came around and the 90s, the HIV epidemic came through. I think what's happened is a lot of our gay men slowed down the polyamorous in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Now you're having lesbians trying to be polyamorous, but you have more Caucasian, I'll say this, non-black lesbians becoming polyamorous. I don't find many lesbians of color becoming polyamorous.
No, I don't really hear. I only know like maybe like one that is, to be one or maybe two. I don't really know any that really are, to be honest. I know plenty of trans men who are poly, but I never really hear so much of lesbians being polyamorous.
I think within our trans community as well, because our lives are so different, our minds are so different, our minds are so open to seeing. We're very much within the world of sexuality being fluid and gender being fluid, that our minds and eyes are open, and we're willing to explore ourselves and where we are in life today. That's my feeling. This is all my feeling, everybody.
I hear what you're saying. I could kind of, I could agree, for the most part, that our minds we're opening up because, we're taking this step to transition and, just more open. I think our community is a little bit more open about it as well because we're just more open overall, but I can't speak for everybody, like I said.
Right. Right.
So I could, semi-agree with it to a certain degree that we are more open. Because I've seen a lot of trans men say that they are polyamorous, they're pansexual, and they're polyamorous. So.
Yeah, I think with a trans men, a lot now, not as many. When I began my transition, there weren't many of trans men, and there weren't many of us out there. And I think what's happening now is that yeah, Aria, you're right. Because let me tell you what she said. She said because within the LGBT, we are more open to thought outside the box, the natural, free spirited nature. Yeah, it's so true. I think that's really what it is. We can look outside the box. There was a time trans men did not intervene, did not get involved with trans women or gay men. Now it's changing. Time is changing. We are evolving.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
We are evolving.
I could definitely agree with that.
And I think also because we are who we are as transgender people, we're willing to venture into a different avenue. We can't really fall. We can't really fall. We can't really fall under. What's the word I want to say?
You don't want to say the word normal.
We can't be normal. Yeah, we can't. We can't do the normal thing. I'm just gonna be honest. We just can't do the normal thing. We don't fall into that. And for us to be to go under being monogamous, I think that's like, I just can't see it.
I hear you.
I can't see.
I think it's a lot of.
We have too much.
Now I'm listening to you.
I think we have a lot to offer as individuals, and we have a sisterhood and brotherhood. I think that can really grow within itself. Because we're all adventuring sexually with each other. It's very unique. I think it's really cute and it's natural. I think I'm adoring it. I love it that trans women are interacting with trans men and vice versa, and trans women are interacting with trans women, trans men are interacting with trans men. It is so fluid. We have begun as an LGBT community to show and prove that sexuality and gender is so very fluid. And I just think it's a fabulous thing because I came from like the 70s and we didn't have that.
Me.
And I was trying to figure out. I tried to figure out how come we didn't have it, because I was like, well, why how come we don't have this going on every day?
Mm-hmm.
But now in 2018, I'm like, there we go. I'm drinking my wine every night for the
Of
celebration.
course, I think that, like me personally, I know a lot of people probably don't really understand the way I feel about my sexuality. Like, like transitioning honestly opened up my eyes to a whole lot, like a whole different era. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to, before I transitioned, I identified as a cisgender non-label right before I transitioned. So for me personally,
Right,
my eyes was more on that
right,
heteronormative mentality. I had that heteronormative mentality before I transitioned. You know what I'm saying? Up to maybe like about a year. Then I started opening up to a lot more and being more comfortable in my transition to explore a lot more. Like me, I don't identify as pansexual, but I kind of identify as more of the hetero fluid, like hetero flexible. Like I'm fluid. Like me, I mainly date women, but you know what I'm saying? I date mainly trans women, but I'm fluid and I'm open to dating other people as well. So me before transitioning, I wasn't as open because I had that mentality that it's supposed to be X, Y, Z. So I'm glad you brought that up. That it is becoming more of the norm and we're becoming more open with each other within the community.
yeah. Because I know. I mean, like I tell everybody, sex is pleasure, sex is fun. There shouldn't be any limits on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think sex is something we should enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
and um, something we should try to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And not put any limits to it. I mean, the fish do what they want to do, and the birds do what they want to do, and I think we just got caught up as a society within what we've been conditioned with.
Mm-hmm.
And when we become, I call it jump to the other side of the grass is actually green, and it's not fake green. We begin to see the reality of what really is going on.
Like I think
You
when you
know,
transition, it opens up your eyes a lot, whether you want to admit it or not. Because there are a lot of people who don't want to admit that this is how they feel, and they don't want to act on it because they're afraid of what others may think. But I think if you're trans, you
right,
should be who you are, live authentically. If you like this, you like that. Then if you feel like you want to, act on it, you should be yourself. Because
right,
we're living in our truth
right,
and we're being who we are. So I think that we should be open and understanding and just be who we are overall. Don't hide or try to put up this stigma or this front for anybody. Be yourself authentically. And that's just how I feel.
right. Well, I'll tell you, it's been a joy being who I am in my
Mm-hmm.
life. And I will say I'm free spirit. I'm living with a free spirit. My mind is free. So I don't have any guards up. I don't have any, stigmatizations, anything like that, because I just can't seem to do that. I
You're more
can't.
happy.
And I'm thankful for those that expose me to a lot so that I can be who I need to be, and be comfortable with who I am. I think that's probably why my mother's family does not like me here in the South, because I do me. I live my life. And some of them just look at me like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm living.
Mm-hmm.
Are you living? Because I'm living.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
know,
gotta be
I'm
happy.
I'm living. I don't know about you. Yeah.
You gotta.
Even I got a little truck that looks like a Fred Sanford pickup truck. I'm really happy with my truck. I'm happy with the way I live my life.
Exactly.
I'm happy with me. I'm happy with my world. So I think that's what it is. We've been conditioned to live materialistically, to live within what society says it's this way, to live within biblically of what the Bible says this is how we're supposed to live. But I'm not gonna bring up the Bible. I just know that some things aren't right, and I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah.
You ask a Jewish man, and he'll tell you the truth. So I'm just gonna leave that alone.
Exactly.
Um, I mean, we just know that some things are not what they say they are.
Exactly.
So I'm just gonna leave that
I,
alone.
and
Yeah.
I know
So
before you came on my live, not to cut you off, before you came on my live, I brought up, I wonder if like the stigmas against being polyamorous comes to how the whole thing with the Bible and being a Christian and being monogamous. Like I wonder if if stigmas come up because of the whole structure with the Bible that we are taught to be with the man, or I'm saying, be with the women, and XYZ. Like, that's why I was wondering if a lot of ignorance comes because of that.
I'm gonna say this. If you got to remember that how this America was created, it was a cleansing process. Then became Hitler, who decided he's gonna do a cleansing process, another European, and 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 make a new generation. Now you got Blondie, who's trying to make a new generation, and it ain't working. So I think we need to understand that the cycle of life, the way some things happen, they still keep going on and going on and going on. And as they keep going on and on, somebody else is going to jump in and try to do the same thing over. You try to reinvent the wheel, okay? And with who we are now in this time and age, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're letting the wheel being seen. The wheel that was really created. They got rid of the blueprint. We're actually the blueprint of what really is going on. And people are trying to get rid of the blueprint of how this world is evolving. The blueprint is visible. If we look at what's going on in the world today, there you have it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So we, being who we are as a community, we just seem to, somebody put water on us and some sunshine, and all of a sudden we just bloom like dandelions all over somebody's grass. That grass I told you about, we're all over the grass now. And you can't get rid of us. I don't care what you do, you can't get rid of a community that is growing. You cannot. And so, with that being said, we are evolving.
We are.
We're evolving with truth that has been sustained and hidden. We're bringing light. When you put things into the universe the right way, the universe will reveal what needs to be revealed.
You're right about that. There's a lot that's been in the dark that's coming to light. And it's time for us to shine. That's how I feel.
Right.
Right. As far as like laws and all that and understanding, I try to, educate the ignorant people who do not understand. Because I think a lot of people have a lot of stigmas, especially, not to get too off topic, but about trans people. They have their own stigmas. And I try to bring light to them that, no, this is, you have it incorrect,
But you have to remember, our stigmas are actually conditions that we've been brought up with.
So
we're actually been conditioned. When you stop being conditioned, you stop having stigmas.
You gotta be.
James, I'm about to sing that song, James. This is the age of the Aquarius. I don't have no tunes. I ain't gonna sing a song. Aquarius. Yeah.
Yeah. I seen a lot of people came in, they left and all that, but
yeah, they did. They did. They put their 2-piece in, and I'm glad they came through. I know Kim is busy. She was at a wedding today, so she's probably going to bed or relaxing or whatever. But for the ones that are here, we discussed this earlier, and I'm glad. It's kind of unique that you brought this up, and I saw it. I said, well, let me jump in and see what we can do here and help you out with some understanding.
I'm glad that you decided to join in, because I know nobody wants to jump in to talk about it.
That's okay.
But I'm happy.
Well, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. And when you have people of color and black, aka black people, African American, however you identify, people of color, that's me, visibly and talking about it, it makes people gag and say, wow, really? They're actually doing this? How could they do this? We're doing this because we have found self-enlightenment and empowerment, and we've engaged into our own self to know who we are to be proud of who we are, not ashamed of who we are. There's no shame in being poly. I love it. So, I mean, I'm not in a relationship now, but one day I will have that mate, and I will have maybe a final mate and another few mates, or just one final mate, but a mate that will understand my polyness.
Exactly. That's all that matters. So, you know what I'm saying? That's
Right,
like,
right,
you know what I'm saying? When I started this live, it kind of was like a little bit dead, but then it picked up a little bit. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess everybody kind of died out and all that. But I thought about the topic yesterday.
right.
I thought about the topic yesterday. And I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about this. Like, I want to kind of understand a little bit more about it, you know? It's not, I never seen nobody talking about it at all. I've never seen nobody talking about
Right.
it. I've seen people talk about everything else, but, you know, polyamorous and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that, you know, some people who are polyamorous was able to come in and join in to give their, you know, and share their, especially you. I'm glad you came in so you could talk about this, you know, because I think it needed to be talked about so people can have,
Yeah, anytime.
so people can have some enlightenment and they can understand a little bit more and stop having stigmas against people who choose to be, you know, or you know, are polyamorous, you know. Because the reason why I say choose and are,
Right.
because you could choose to be one way or you are. That's just, this is who you are, you know. So I'm glad you came
Yeah.
in, Mr. Flex. I appreciate
And I mean,
coming.
it's not, I will say it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Monogamy is not for everybody. Poly is not for everybody. Triology is actually when you just have three partners in a relationship only. That's not for everybody. I mean, some people don't even want to be asexual, demisexual, polysexual, pansexual, whatever sexual they are. It's not for everyone. Transsexual, transgender is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But we are who we are as human beings, and we're part of this universe.
Exactly.
And whatever makes the universe continually go around are all of us and our positive energies of who we are that we bring to the table.
Of course. We all, if we was all the same, then it would not be no balance. That's how I feel.
Well, like I always say, if the universe only made, if the universe, what I say, if the universe only made positivity in one direction, it would only need me.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't need nobody else because I'd be the one going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But the universe did not make just one, it made a zillion of us.
Mm-hmm.
So together we will become one.
Of course. So hopefully we could try to get everybody on the same page. Even though I think that's kind of like impossible these days. It's hard to get people
Oh yeah,
to,
it's not impossible, it's just a chore.
yeah,
There's no such thing as anything being impossible, it's just a
yeah.
chore. And whoever wants to put work into the chore must put work into it,
Mm-hmm.
but can't do it
Of
alone.
course. You're definitely right about that. But I appreciate you coming in to talk about you know your experiences and answering my questions. I hope
Always.
I didn't seem like I was being ignorant or anything. I hope I was just trying to be as transparent and open as possible
No, no, no,
about
no,
about the topic.
no. You were being very, you were being very open-minded, very inquisitive, which I enjoy. And I think the ones that are here watching are saying the same things to
Yeah,
themselves. We want people to come and talk. We need to
yeah,
talk. We need to communicate as a community. We need to learn. Each one teach one. That's what we need to do.
exactly.
Each one teach
I
one.
wish that there was a lot more people who were more open and understanding. Because I know there's a lot of people in the trans community who is not open, especially people of color who are not open to understanding, you know, different people who are different. You know, I try to stay away
Right.
from that word lifestyle. I try to say different more because everybody is different in their own way. I try to
Right.
stay away from that word, but I think that a lot of people need to open up a lot more to understand people who are different and unique, and you know we can all try to get on the same page and get along more.
Right. Right. Now, James, he deals with monogamy, which is actually being married, and polygamous is actually living and loving
Mm-hmm.
together. And that's being married. Like I said earlier, James, we just don't use we just say poly because being married to two different women um, in the States is very illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't really use that word because they don't interact in that term, but they live that way.
Mm-hmm.
We use just the term poly to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's what's been going on with the wording. I think that's why we use the word poly more than anything else because it's our way of saying I'm doing it, but you don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. What I was gonna
You
say,
know,
like it could be
but,
kind of like, you know how some people are from different countries have different beliefs. So they may have a wife, maybe for example in Europe, and they come to America and have another wife. That's a little bit different though from being polyamorous.
well, that's actually polygamy. But if they find out you got a wife in America and you got a wife in Europe, they will put you in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they find out, they will put you in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have people that come here from other countries that actually marry an American and may still be married to their ex somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot.
And believe it or not, I was one that was married in my day. I was married to an African man when I was female bodied.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to legally divorce his wife in Africa before he married me.
Okay, but there's a lot of people who don't do that though. That's what I'm saying. Especially, I know the most common culture I hear it mostly is in like like the Indo-Asian culture, like a lot of Indian. They get married to somebody here and they have a wife back home. I hear that a lot.
Okay.
I hear that a lot that they have somebody back home, then they get married here. So I'm just like, okay, I respect everybody's thing. As long as you happy,
Right.
I'm reading some of the messages right now. Yeah, there's some people who know and stuff, you know, who know
Right.
about if somebody's married back in Africa and then they married here in the U.S. There's people who know, and then there's people who don't know. You know, that's how I feel. I don't know too much about all of that. I'm kind of like the blind.
Right.
I'm kind of
Right.
like the blinded eye when it comes to if somebody's married back home, then they get married here, and then the person knows, but they still get married. Like I don't know. There's a lot of things going
Right.
on. I respect people's thing. If that's what you do, that's what you do. Well, I think you should just be
Right.
transparent as
Right.
possible. If you are married in another country, then you come in here to get married. I mean, I don't know. I don't get in people's
Right.
business. That's how I feel. As long as you happy, that's all I say. As long as you happy,
Right.
you should be transparent though with your partner, whoever you get involved with. That's just how I feel. Number one, always be transparent.
Right.
Always have communication. Don't try to hide. Just
Right.
be transparent and be honest. There's a lot of people who don't
Right.
want to be honest because they feel the person's going to get upset or they're going to judge that. But then if you feel that way, then you shouldn't be getting married to that person. That's how I feel. You're supposed to be
Right.
able to trust your partner or your partners.
Right.
So if you can't be honest, then why try to even get married to them? I don't get that whole thing.
Right.
Exactly. Sometimes I feel like you're not gonna agree when it comes to relationships, but you can always agree to disagree.
Right. Right.
I've been in relationships where I don't agree with, I don't agree, but I still love that person, so I'm gonna respect it. I may not agree with it. We're gonna all have different viewpoints.
Right.
But I think it kind of comes with like with time and age of understanding things. You gotta kind of go through your trials and tribulations to understand a lot when
Well,
it
I
comes
say
to relationships.
right. Right.
When it comes to relationships, that's why also I had asked you that question about um, when it comes to younger people, the younger generation, being in polyamorous relationships. Because I don't feel like a lot of them understand it as well. They just think it's some open thing where they're gonna be having some freak type
Right.
of thing. You know, that's why I had to ask you that
Right.
question as well earlier.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of technique, there's a lot of knowledge to go with it, and I tell people to read and learn and really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Really learn to understand it.
Mm-hmm. That's good. All right, I'm about to get off live right now, but I appreciate
All
you
right.
coming in and joining in on this live and stuff, because before you came in, we had some people in here that was talking about a couch auction, and I had to block them because I don't know who sent them.
Yeah, that's those hackers. That's those hackers. A lot of those hackers will come in and they'll do that. That's those hackers. But if you block them, you won't have to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, because I was like, huh? Like, who sent them this way? I never had that happen on any of my lives. So I was kind of like in disbelief and laughing at